Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is Greenleaf Season 2, Episode 15, and the name of this episode is 2 by 2. Let me say, this was a really good episode, but I was literally laughing this entire episode, just from the beginning all the way up into the end. It was a really good episode, y'all, and I'm definitely gonna get into it. But before I do, I want to send my love and condolences to everyone that was affected by Hurricane Harvey as well as Hurricane Irma. If you can give relief or any support that you possibly can, please help. Please help them because these communities need our help, and we want to help restore back Texas as well as Florida, and also send out your prayers to everyone in the Dominican Republic who may be affected by Hurricane Jose. So, you definitely are in our prayers, and we definitely, need to, help and support, our fellow humanity. All right, let me get to this episode. Now, the episode opens up. Bishop and Sophia are dancing because, the bishop is going to be Sophia's, date for the cotillion. Because the cotillion, you can be there with your boyfriends, but then you're also supposed to be there with your fathers. And since Sophia's father's not able to make it, Bishop's going to step in. So they're pretty much doing their dancing, and Grace is there, and she's enjoying them, doing their, dancing and everything. And next thing you know, Lady Mace comes in. She's happy to see them dancing. So Grace had to take Sophia to school, so they had to stop. And so pretty much Lady May comes in, and she pretty much tells them the news about Marisol, the head housekeeper, that she just called and she's in the hospital and she has meningitis and she'll probably be out of work for 2 weeks. So, and she's like, well, that just means that Charity ain't gonna be able to go on tour because Marisol is not gonna be able to go with her. So, she's like, oh great, the Lord has intervened, because I was against Charity leaving anyway. So, so Charity can actually stay home and continue to do what she's been doing. And then the bishop's like, I think she should go. And she's like, what? And she's like, yeah. And, Carlton can actually, take her place as far as being the minister of music. And she's like, excuse me? And she's like, do you have a problem? And she's like, Jane, she's like, after all, Charity should be able to go live her life, just like you've been taking advantage of the good life you've had after all these years. And I was like, oh! Like, Bishop was laying it on strong. And if you definitely watched last week's episode, you can definitely tell the Bishop was picking up piece by piece that something was going on. And through this whole episode, he was just giving it to me. And it was just crazy. So pretty much she says that okay, she says, well, guess what? Charity and I are gonna go see Marisol at the hospital. And he was like, okay, you do that. She's like, yes, because it seemed to me that decisions are being made without knowing what the hell you're talking about. And I was like, oh. So we already see that tensions has now hit the surface between Bishop and Lady May. And as I said throughout the episode, they were just taking jabs at each other. Because the next thing you know, we see that Bishop's at Calvary and he has a meeting with Rochelle, with Rochelle Cross, aka Rochelle the Jezebel. So Rochelle the Jezebel comes in and lets him know that she drops off a big fat check, and then begins to tell him that she has an appointment with her doctor. She needs to revisit, to see, because she supposedly, according to her, she said that she had cancer, and that, she has to check in, but she's afraid. And he said that, you should be fine. But she said that, yeah, but if everything was okay, they would just call me on the phone. They want me to come in. So I'm afraid. What if I get a bad diagnosis? And he says that that's not going to be the case. And she says that, you know what, I'll go with you to your appointment. So he goes to his appointment, tells the secretary tell her that I'll be gone for 3 hours. I was like, ooh, man. So he goes to her appointment. They come to find out she doesn't have cancer. So, but we can definitely see that Rochelle, the Jezebel, is moving in, and she's moving in even closer. And the bishop is somewhat, you know, he's loving the attention and the type of affection that she's giving. And so we definitely see that going down. Then over there at Triumph, Skip Leonard. Y'all remember Skip Leonard? He's been on. We've seen him in season 1. He's the deputy mayor, but now he's actually running for mayor of Memphis. And pretty much he said that Bishop Skanks was his spiritual advisor. Now, if you know about Leonard, Leonard is a snake. Leonard is just as messy as Skanks is. So he's pretty much saying that that Bishop Skanks was supposed to then backing him as, you know, the godly man of Memphis, and that, you know, he was going to be using, you know, Triumph as like his confidant. And he was saying that no one told you about this, and he was like, nah, nobody told me. Because we saw the last time that we saw the two of them together, Jacob jacked up Leonard and told him to not work with his uncle, and that if he actually worked with his uncle, he was going to split his behind from Sunday until Saturday. So it's funny that now we're seeing them, and it's a totally different situation. Now Jacob is the pastor of Triumph, and now Leonard is now running for mayor. So he's pretty much saying that, you know, they're pretty much talking about, you know, our relationship could be, your relationship with me can be beneficial because, you know, sometimes, you know, the whole thing about church and state, they sometimes overlap because, you know, there's a lot of money in the government that can fund everything you want to do, you know, and people complain about the government, but yet the government has a bunch of cash just waiting for people to claim it. So, if anything, Jacob's already got like a side eye looking at Leonard, like, you know, what's your game? What do you have? What do you have to get from this? Because he already knows Leonard can't be trusted. So we actually see we have a quick scene between Charity and Lady May. Charity is trying to argue that, you know, she still wants to go on tour, but Lady May said no, because now we find out it's not Maricel that's in the hospital, it's her husband. And we later come to find out that her husband is actually an illegal immigrant, and he's been pretty much working under the table for all these years, and for months he's been sick with meningitis, and because he never wanted to go see a doctor because he didn't want to he didn't want to get found out that he was in the country illegally, so he just didn't go to the doctor and almost died. So pretty much Lady May has told Charity, no, you're not going, you know, and that's final. And then also, let's see. So pretty much we see that Grace comes to her office and she sees the wings on her desk. You know, the angel's wings. When she sees those angel's wings, that means Lady May wants to see her. So she goes to see her mother, and she pretty much tells her about Marisol's husband, that he's an illegal immigrant, and he didn't go to the hospital without fear, and he almost died. So can we find a way to get a lawyer so that we can get him documented? Because she says that if I lose Marcel, I don't know how I can deal with anything, because she's been with us for years, and I can't afford to lose her. But then Grace, you know, because Grace has that sharp eye as well, she's like, Mama, is there something wrong between you and Daddy? And she says, yes, but right now, take care of Marisol. Next thing you know, we see her mosey herself up to the bishop's office, and she's like, she goes in and sees that the bishop's gone, and she comes out, and she says, and she talks to the secretary, she's like, where's the bishop? And she's like, oh, he's with Miss Cross. And I was like, ooh, the wheels are turning now. So the next time they about to go to bed, Lady May and the bishop, she asks that, oh, you was with Miss Cross today? And he was like, yes, I was. And she was like, okay. And she's like, yeah, I was with her. I went to her appointment because she needed some spiritual counseling because remember she is a cancer survivor, and she went in for a checkup, and she wanted me there as a spiritual advisor because she was scared. And she also signed up a big check. I mean, so is there anything else you need to know, Lady May? I mean, it seems to me that you want to be privy to all information, so I'm going to make sure is everything good. And then he just walked away and was like, good night. I was like, dang! Like, he is letting on that he is not feeling Lady May at all. Like, throughout the show, he was just paying Lady May dust. And, because normally he's very touchy-feely and very lovey with her around bedtime. He wants to get, close to his wife. He pretty much was like, good night. And that was the end of it. Oh yeah, and what was also crazy is that after after Rochelle found out that her cancer screening was fine and that she doesn't have cancer, so she's good, she starts, oh my God, I thank God for you, Bishop. I don't know what I could do without you, and maybe what do you want to do? You want to go get something to eat? Maybe have a few drinks, to celebrate. And he's like, well, I think I should get. She's like, oh yeah, you should get back to work. Yeah, I understand. I mean, you just can't. You just can't be all about me. I mean, here, look at me, trying to make it all about me, all eyes on me. And I'm like, Rochelle, you are really trying it. And she is just inching her way into the bishop's quarters, and it's crazy. Because it's like we're all seeing it, that she's definitely got an agenda. And we're going to see it more and more throughout this episode. So, we also get a scene with Charity. Charity gets a video call gets a video chat with Jabari. He's pretty much saying that 2 weeks. She's like, yeah, I need 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks, I can actually join you guys on the tour. It's just 2 weeks, and he was saying that, look, that's going to cost a lot of money. He says, me personally, yeah, Charity, you're a great artist. I would do it for you, but this is also the promoters, the producers, everybody's going to take a hit. So I would rather us not do it. There are other opportunities. But she's like, no, I want to do this, and I'm going to make it happen. So I'll just see you for rehearsal on Saturday. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll see you Saturday. So I'm like, Charity is to the point, she wants to focus on her career because she's just over the whole situation. And, because, you can definitely tell she's been going through it, since Kevin has left. So she's trying to put everything on, her music career, and she's not even, trying to stay at Calvary. She wants to get away. So we saw that go down. Then we get a scene with Zora and Carissa, and I'm gonna pretty much tie both scenes, together, because because we actually see Zora has been getting a lot of bouts and bruises of all the same from that two-time loser, little Ike Turner. Because we see that this boy has been rumbling in the jungle with her, and she has got bruises everywhere. Carissa comes in, she knocks on Zora's door. She notices that Zora's door is locked, and Zora immediately puts on a sweatshirt and comes in and she says, oh, I'm just doing laundry. So she pretty much asks us, Carissa comes in and she says, I talked to Mr. Dorsey, and she's like, okay. She's like, well, for what? My grades are fine. What is he talking to you about? And he says, no, it's not your grades. It's the fact that you're not participating. And you can definitely tell Carissa notices something is not right with Zora, because she just knows that Zora's not. She's now paying attention to her daughter that something ain't right. And she's like, look, I don't know what's going on, because you're very active and you've always been this way. all of a sudden now you're not talking in class. Like, I'm concerned. And she's like, oh, great. So, you know, you're concerned because I'd rather wear a sweatshirt than a short sleeve shirt. You're also stressing because at first you know, I talk too much, but then now I'm not really talking, and it's a problem. I mean, like, what? I mean, like, dang, does anything give? And she's like, look, I'll leave you to the laundry. She's like, okay, great, because that's exactly what I was gonna do before you came in here. So it's like she's getting real smart, and she's see that, you know, she's playing, she's kind of representing the type of attitude that abused people have. It was like they try to cover it up, and they try to mask that everything is fine. You know, every hair is in place, but behind closed doors, everything is hell. So later on, we see that Carissa has a talk with Jacob about it, and he's saying that yeah, it's just really weird. You know, her door's locked, and she's not responding the way she's not responding the way she normally does. It's like, I'm just noticing something's not right. You know, she's starting to get that mother's intuition. And then Jacob's like, well, maybe she's getting high. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, she's probably getting high. Hey, I was doing it around those age. Maybe she's doing the same thing. I'm like, yeah, but she's sneaky, and she definitely got that from you, Jacob. So she's like, man, hold your horses, Bob Marley. That ain't what it is. It's got to be something else. So next thing you know, we see that she goes in to Zora's room, and she starts going through everything, and then she goes behind the pillow and finds a condom. So immediately that's when Zora walks in. It's like, what are you doing in my room? And she's like, what's this? What's going on here? And she's like, look, Mom. And she's like, well, don't look, Mom, me. Are you crazy? How could you be this stupid? What is wrong with you? And she's like, well, look, people have sex. I mean, it's not like it's like something foreign. I mean, what's the problem? It's like, the problem is that it's irresponsible and it's stupid. You know better than this. We raised you better than this. And she says, now look, when I started dating your father, I had enough sense to make him wait until we got married because I wanted his respect. And she was like, really? And she slapped the taste out of Zora's mouth. Because he was just like, you know, Zora knows about Jacob cheating on her mother. As a matter of fact, everybody know about it because we saw in season 1 when Carissa, you know, told everybody at the dinner table. So we saw that go down. So then she pretty much lets her know that, look, I know you think you need to do this to have a man, but sleeping with a man does not measure your self-worth. You have to learn to love yourself, and you have to respect yourself, or a man won't respect you. Pretty much kind of gave her that pep talk. And I was like, yep, it's a pep talk that she needs to have, but it's too much, too little, too late, unfortunately, because she done already been having sex, and she's already in an abusive relationship, and she's letting Isaiah just have his way with her, and she's hiding it with makeup and long sleeve clothes. Next, we actually get a scene with Darius and Grace. You know, pretty much you can see it's the night after they was getting it in on that couch, you know, sexing it up. Pretty much in this scene, she's pretty much saying that she can't stay the night because she needs to be there for Sophia, and you know, and pretty much she's like, okay, so is she gonna be okay that I'm coming to dinner? And she's like, well, maybe we can go out, you know, to eat for the, you know, just the three of us. And he's like, well, I was really looking forward to actually having dinner with your family. You know, why are you trying to change things? And she was like, look, something's going, it's not you, it's something going on with my parents. I don't know what it is, but something's just not right. And he's like, I don't know what's going on, but he's like, you know, I'm not going to let that bother me. He says that, hey, my parents fought all the time, and they were married 24 years, you know, but he says that, look, whatever you want to do, I'm down. So then we also get a scene with Charity talks to the bishop, and pretty much she lets the bishop know that, look, I'm trying to live my own life. You know, Kevin left me, and he's not coming back. and I need to move on. And so what if this means that, you know, I try to move on with Jabari and try to pursue my career? It's like, look, I love singing at church, but I want to sing for the world, you know. I want to get my voice out there and sing about, even though singing behind Chandler Manager's backup, but it's a great opportunity, and it's a time for me to let my talent shine and let me have my shot out there. And he was like, you're right. And he pretty much gave permission for her to go on tour. And then he kind of sticks it to May too, because he's like, May, this is what's going to happen. Charity's going on tour, and Carlton's coming back to Calvary. And in the words of your family, it's not open for discussion. And walked off. I was like, he's just been giving her blows throughout this episode, and it was crazy. Yeah, so we definitely covered that. Okay. Then we actually see that finally Darius comes over for dinner, him and Sophia, and all of, you know, so pretty much Sophia lets him in, and we can definitely tell that Sophia actually likes Darius, and you can definitely tell that Grace has been getting her life, because Grace was looking very revealing in that dress, and even Sophia kind of called her like, oh, okay, I see you now, seeing you getting your life. She's like, girl, don't be trying to flip this like you the mother and I'm the child, because it ain't happening. Because like, Sophia's definitely wise beyond her years, so she know, you know, they've obviously gotten close. And Sophia actually likes Darius, you know, due to the fact, you know, and pretty much, you know, she apologized for not being at the dinner, that night where Grace ended up killing Uncle Matt. Then they exchange gifts and everything, and they go out for dinner. And while they're pretty much sitting on the lanai, or the patio of the house, you know, they're sitting out there with Lady May and the bishop, and you know, they're all just sitting out there talking. And well, pretty much, you know, Darius is actually telling them about his background, his family, and all of that. And he was talking about his father, and him and the bishop connected. And she was like, his father was like, wow, he sounds like a good man. Sorry he's no longer with us, because his father had died. And then Lady May is like, oh, so what church did your family go to? And he said, First Presbyterian. She's like, oh. I'm like, really, Lady May? You gonna shade the man because he didn't go to he didn't go to a Baptist church? He grew up Presbyterian? Really, boo-boo? Like, Lady May be doing the most. So, you know, he's talking about his parents, and he's talking about, you know, that his parents had a great love, and, you know, and that he learned a lot from his family. So this is another opportunity. The bishop takes a jab at Lady May, and he's like, wow, just imagine having that much love and that much care and that much, you know, passion. And also Lady May is like, and he's like, I can't imagine. I was like, dang! I was like, wow, he's just been taking blows. And Lady May was just, and both Darius and Grace are kind of picking up like, what is going on up in here? So later on, Grace and Darius talk, and Grace is like, look, as I said, there's something going on between my parents, and he's like, yeah, that's obvious. And she's like, look, all I know is that it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, but I'm praying that God will work it out. So we saw that go down. But yeah, that situation was crazy. Then we actually have a scene between Jacob and Skip Leonard again. He pretty much, I think they're at like this breakfast or this event or whatever, and he's using Jacob as his spiritual counsel to kind of win over some of these, you know, funders of his campaign. So he pretty much tells Jacob that, he's pretty much saying that, look, I'm trying to, you know, get good with these investors, so won't you lay off on all of that gay stuff, you know, stick to the common ground, you know, let's move one mountain at a time. And, you know, Jacob's kind of looking at this like, you know, at the end of the day, we're supposed to be honest and it's supposed to be sharing God's love, and God's love does pertain to the gays as well. So Jacob is really conflicted, but Jacob says okay or whatever, because Jacob is starting to kind of fall under that money spell, because he says that, look, you know, these people got a lot of money and I don't want to offend them, and they don't want to hear about that. So if you stay away from that and we just play it one day at a time, there's a lot of money that we can get our hands on. So Jacob is kind of playing into the actual he's kind of playing into the actual problem. And then we get a shocker, because in this episode, because also in this episode we finally see Bishop Skanks. Bishop Skanks looks rough. Bishop Skanks looks like that, yeah, he's out on a mission. And he actually calls Tasha. And he pretty much lets Tasha, you know, and pretty much she's like, oh my God, baby, where are you? Are you coming back? And he says, no, I can't come back, baby. But I just want to hear that you love me. And she's like, I love you. And he's like, okay, you know, you stay there. But when it comes to them Greenleafs, make them pay. And she's like, I will, Basie. I will. I promise. I will. So I'm like, ooh, Tasha's. I mean, we were all suspecting this too, that Tasha knew more about Skank's whereabouts than she was letting on. So she don't know exactly where he is, but they've been still keeping in touch with each other, and they definitely got a plan to take down Jacob and Carissa. So we're going to see how this plays out. And we definitely saw towards the end of the episode, she is planting her seeds with Jacob. So I'm thinking, okay, she's going to work an angle to get at Jacob in some way, and is going to find a way to take him down. And then also, Jacob has also been getting it from the treasurer of the Church of Triumph. I forgot her name. I think it was like Nikki or something. I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But you know, he's doing a meeting, you know, with the board of trustees of the church, you know, the deacons and all the church officials, and he's talking about this phase of integrating his project from the real church of Memphis. He's integrating this into Triumph, and she is just giving every type of rebuttal whatsoever, and she's like, this gonna cost a lot of money. She says that actually we actually have government funding which we can use for this, so therefore it wouldn't cost the church any money. And then he pretty much said, and then she was just being real nasty, trying to shut down his whole entire operation about integrating the homeless into Triumph. So he was like, look, this is a good initiative, and I stand fully behind it. And he says, all in favor, say aye. And all the hands went up except for her. So he just shut her down, and we could tell she was not happy about it. Then we also see later on in church, and like Tasha can sing her butt off. So Tasha's the minister of music for Triumph as well. So she's there performing, you know, and she is giving vocals like, you know, she is singing the church down. And like we see that Skip Leonard is singing. The thing is, you can sit, you know, in the pastor's headquarters or in the bishop's headquarters when you got this. So because he got that, he's sitting right up there on stage, right next to him, Carissa and Tasha and all of that. So I'm like, oh, interesting. So while he's doing a sermon, he actually talks about, you know, that the church just got a $75,000 grant, and he talks about his initiative, and he's like, see, people who don't believe, then people, and like everybody stood up except for Nikki. Nikki was sitting there mad. You can see the red coming out of her face. She was not here for any of it. And then Jacob was like, yeah, when it comes down to the Lord, when people didn't believe in this project, I'm like, you don't know God. And I'm like, and you just saw her. I'm like, oh yeah, he's talking about you. So I thought that was cool. So then we actually see the bishop decides to go talk to Carlton. Yo, shout out to my boy Cornell. I love this guy, young. And, you know, and also shout out to T.C. Carlson, you know, because, you know, they play a married couple. And, you know, and it's great that we're actually seeing this, you know, being displayed, you know, real love, and openly gay love at that. So Richard goes there to talk to them, and the funny thing about it, he gets his message idea from talking to them. So he pretty much says that, look, he talks to Carlton, it's like, look, Cherry's about to go back on tour, and we need you to come back to replace her as a minister of music, and he's like, what has? And he's like, come again? What do you mean by that? He's like, well, what has? I mean, here you are, offering me something, but what is it? You just want me to be your good old gay that just handles your business, but then yet I'm not fully accepted. And he's like, you know what? Until you guys can actually be open, like Triumph is to the gay community, I don't want no parts of it. And besides, this man right here, my husband, he ain't gonna allow me to come back. And he's like, show you right. I was like, all right, I see you. I see that. That was real. Like, he got his man's back. And pretty much, it was from this conversation where he was saying that, look, that's my partner. That's my husband. And when I'm not gonna no longer be subjected to any more discrimination or anything like that. And it was from him interacting with them and seeing the two of them, how they actually came together, that's when he thought of it, 2 by 2. Because he was also talking about some of his message to, Rochelle the Jezebel. And he was kind of letting them know that, the whole irony of like when Noah's Ark, and how he had 2 people, walk in, how that pretty much Noah had every living animal, every living being, 2 sets to come into. And then he was saying that, that's what that's what I'm gonna make my message about. And he got it from a gay couple. So it shows right there, God is everywhere. Don't forget that. So he pretty much saying that, pretty much he's saying that, look, we need to stand by this, and little by little we can actually make change. And then Carl's like, man, the church is not going to change. He's like, no, the church may not change, but we can change the world. And changing the world, the church will eventually follow suit. So he's like, okay. And with that, we saw that the bishop and Carlton actually bonded. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. And they shook hands. And he said, God bless you, brother. And he's like, God bless you. So I was like, that was a good scene right there. That was everything. So the last scene I'm going to talk about is the whole situation with Lady Mae and Bishop. So finally, the bishop is like on the patio or like the balcony of the house. And then Lady Mae comes up and all of a sudden he's like, you ready to talk now? And she's like, are you? And he's like, and then he looks at her, it's like, I know about your affair with Lionel. And he was asking when. And he was like, look, he asked me to leave and I would not leave you. And she's like, when? And he's like, oh, that summer we spent, in the Capes or whatever. And he was like, oh, okay. So that's when it happened. And she was like, yes, I was very vulnerable after what you did, after what went down between you and my sister, meaning Mavis. So yeah, he cheated on May with her sister Mavis. Now, the bishop's like, yeah, but I told you about that, and I came clean right after I did it. I didn't hold it in and didn't say anything for years like you did. Yeah, that's true, but Bishop, that's her sister. So you can't get mad that she would retaliate, I mean, I'm not saying 2 wrongs make a right, because she had no right messing around with Lionel of all people, because we already see how much of a piece of work Lionel is. But at the end of the day, you cheated on her with her sister. That is too close. That's like really hitting the core. So she wanted revenge, and she messed around with Lionel. But then Lionel wanted her to leave him and all of that. And then he was like, oh yeah. And I knew, because every time I would come around, the 2 of you would look down on me like I was like an insect or something. And you had this man, parading this man around me. He's smiling in my face, knowing the whole time he was screwing my wife. you know, and then she was like, look, the only reason why I didn't tell you because I was terrified, but you know, I did all of this because I do love you. You know, I really, like, I knew you weren't perfect, but I loved you anyway because I loved you. I did this for us, you know. Are you really going to walk away from this? Are you really going to say what we have wasn't real love? And he just walked away and didn't even answer her. So I'm like, yeah, things are going to get explosive between the bishop and the first lady, Lady May. So we're definitely got our eyes open for that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got everybody. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. But yeah, but I definitely also like the scene where Jacob, you know, preached in the pulpit about them getting that grant for $75,000. But yeah, but at what cost though? Because we know the deputy mayor is definitely got an agenda. The question is, what is his agenda and how is it going to affect Jacob and Triumph? So that's what I have, y'all. Again, if I missed anything, put it down there. I'd love to hear from you. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you can get notifications every time I drop a video. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video. And I will be back next week. And next week is the season finale. And it's going to get crazy because Kevin comes back, y'all. We're going to see what the heck Kevin going to be working with when he get back. So I will definitely be back next week for the season finale of Greenleaf. So until then, everybody, take care.